I'd like to introduce Dr. Gaetano Cavalieri, who I'm sure many of you know. And we're very honored to have him here with us. He's president of the Cibjo, the World Jewellery Confederation, which is kind of an umbrella organization for all things in jewellery. So we're very honored to have him here to speak about sustainability and responsibility in the jewellery industry, and also how that could apply to pearls. So the floor is yours now, Dr. Cavalieri.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Laura, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning to you, despite the weather, by the way. It is a privilege to be with you in Hong Kong today and to be provided the opportunity of delivering the opening speech of what I hope will be a groundbreaking event. Thanks and congratulations are due to the organizer for both their initiative and foresight, and I would like to express my admiration for the fact that so many of the leading participants in the international pearl sector have expressed their appreciation of the importance of what is being discussed today, and clearly I have agreed to be part of it. The subject of sustainability is not new to Cibjo, the World Jewellery Confederation. We have been addressing it from a variety of perspectives for more than 8-9 years, and I plan to present several of these perspectives in my address today. But the cultured pearl industry provides an opportunity to broaden the discussion and to introduce concepts that often cannot be considered in other sectors of the jewelry industry. As Professor Salem Ali said, we deal with natural products. And I would like to underline that we in this industry are very fortunate, lucky to deal with natural products. And I would like to underline two concepts that are important. One is natural, that apparently is something quite normal, but is not, considering the fact that the world is doing in a certain way where we today are talking about sustainability. And the same concept, sometimes we have to re-explain ourselves the real meaning of sustainability, because once something is done, then you have to sustain, increase, and go forward. I mean, in the room, I know a good number of you, and incredible people is here, even if maybe amongst us we consider us normal. I think that we are not. At least I myself, there are a number of people that would like to have a number of medical doctor in the brain activity. You know, some people think that I need a specific care in the specific hospital, but I don't think so. By the way, about that, the natural, which apparently give the contrary meaning of synthetic, but also we deal in an environment such as our world, our heart, and obviously sea is one of those, where sustainability is essential. It's essential because we deal with products that are precious by nature. Are not precious because we do something special, simply by nature are precious. And we working in this industry, we are so fortunate to deal with products that are precious by nature. What we have to do, we simply have to handle this great present that we have received in order to enhance and sustain what we have had. Because it will be more than a disaster, it will be a crime if we don't do that. Let me continue with my presentation. Sometimes I go in and out because I feel very a passionate, and I am very passionate in this industry. So why is this so? Because we often point out mining, through which we as jewelry obtain the bulk of our raw materials, is inherently unsustainable. Once a gemstone or mineral has been removed from the heart, it will not return, as the very least for the next couple of billion years or so. We can talk about sustainable mining methods that protect the environment, and we can talk about sustainable economic opportunities created by mining. But when it comes to natural gems, as I was saying previously, and minerals, we cannot truthfully talk about a sustainable product. But with pearls, we can. Because we possess the means and the knowledge to initiate the natural growth of new products with an economically viable period of time. And please take note that I refer to the natural growth. True, we are talking about cultured pearls which need to be differentiated from natural pearls, but the biological processes by which a cultured pearl is created are natural, as is the environment in which they take place. This is not the same as with synthetic gemstones, again, as I said previously, where neither the processes nor the environment are how nature intended. So while the term sustainable mining is actually an oxymoron, meaning two words with essentially opposite meaning, like open secret or serious funny, sustainable agriculture most definitely is not. Robert, a very good morning to you. From business perspective, it offered the cultural pearl industry a tremendous opportunity, but along with that comes a responsibility. It is on that responsibility that we largely are focusing upon today. First, we should define sustainability. Most probably the most widely used definition is the one that was provided by the United Nations established World Commission on Environment and Development. It stated that sustainability is to meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Paul Oaken, who is both an environmentalist and a successful entrepreneur, defined it somewhat differently. He said, sustainability is about stabilizing the currently disruptive relationship between hearts to most complex systems, human culture and the living world. For today's discussion, I would like to talk about three types of sustainability, all of which need to be achieved if we as a business community can claim to be a truly sustainable industry. These are economic sustainability, environmental sustainability, stakeholder community sustainability, social sustainability. For the sake of accuracy, I cannot claim ownership of this analysis. The World Summit on Social Development in 2005 identified three basic sustainable development goals, which it defined as economic development, environment protection, and social development. It is also important to point out that none of the three are mutually exclusive. Indeed, the inability to address any one of those elements which may be difficult, if not impossible to address the other two, certainly over the long term, and as experience has shown, this is almost definitely true in the cultural pearl industry. Let us take those three elements one by one. economic sustainability requires us to use our resources in an efficient and responsible way so that our business will function profitably over the long term. Please note that the word business and profit feature prominently in that definition. Neither one is the natural enemy of the environment, nor the stakeholder community. On the contrary, in order that all operate in harmony, it's essential that the business be profitable. Thank you. On the other hand, if a business uses its resources in an irresponsible way, not only with its ability to profit over the long term to be threatened, it also is likely to pose an environmental threat and will not serve as a sustainable resource for the benefit of stakeholder community. The essential importance of economic sustainability must be appreciated by the business community, which needs to be prepared to take a long-term approach, sometimes at the expense of short-term profit. It also needs to be appreciated by government regulators who must do their utmost to protect their country's natural environment and social fabric, while at the same ensuring that the economy is allowed to function. I do not for a moment suggest that regulation be relinquished, certainly not where fragile ecosystems are concerned, but to create a correct balance between a properly protected environment and the free market economy. The regulators need to understand the business environment. Let me address now environmental sustainability, which from our perspective I believe can be defined as enabling to ecosystem in our environment to continue operating without being negatively affected by our business activities. In other words, environmental sustainability ideally does not require our intervention. Where we must intervene, however, is to offset any damage that our activities may cause. I spoke earlier about the pearl industry responsibility. When it comes to environment, this is particularly critical and requires continuous scientific research and ongoing training and education. Simply stated, if the lessons that you have learned to not reach the grassroots of our industry, your efforts may have been wasted, and the stakes are very high, not only for the ecosystem that need to coexist with the pearl farms, but also for the pearl farms which require a healthy aqua environment in order to flourish over the long term. Environmental responsibility should be a catchphrase of the culture of pearl industry. When a consumer buys an item of pearl jewelry, they should feel that they have invested in our planet's long-term survival rather than having taken advantage of it. At our most recent Congress in Moscow, we invited a carbon footprinting expert to profile Cibjo as an organization to ascertain how much of an impact we make upon the environment, and in doing so, we hope to act as a model for companies in the industry. For those of you who are familiar with the practice, the idea is to eventually offset your footprint with carbon credits, thereby being able to declare yourself as a carbon neutral. A carbon credit is a financial instrument that represents a ton of carbon dioxide of equivalent gases that are removed or reduced from the atmosphere from an emission reduction project. A suggestion was made in Moscow just by Gaetano Cavalieri that it may be possible to develop carbon credits in pearl sector as part of your regular activities, which could then be purchased by jewelry companies seeking to offset their carbon footprints. I would encourage you to investigate this possibility for, where it possible, it would be a perfect example of the jewelry industry working in tandem in the interest of environmental sustainability. Before I go forward with this, I would like to add just a little consideration. Today, in the industry, from time to time happen that a group of people for specific direct corporate or personal interests, they decide to sit together and push the government in order to reach certain activities, which, in my opinion, from one side is very legitimate, but from the other side is meeting a certain distance from the raison d'etre of the legitimate organization. Why I'm saying that? Because we, and I'm talking on behalf of the legitimate organizations such as Cibjo, the Jewellery Confederation, we are recognized by governments, countries, international bodies such as the WTO, such as the International Chamber of Commerce Organization, such as the United Nations, where I am honored to be part of the Economic and Social Council of the UN headquartered in New York. I'm saying that because at that level, when we raise the voice on behalf of the industry, because everything could be discussed, and everything must be discussed in the proper way. Sometimes protocol exists, but quite often protocol is neglected because we think that we are much better than following the protocol in order to reach certain goals. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not true, because create confusion in the industry, create misunderstanding, and sometimes important people, CEOs or director or general manager or whatever, they feel that they can do that, which if this is to justify their big salary, I can understand. But we are entrepreneurs, and we do that pro bono. We do that because we are committed, and we feel committed to give back to this industry what this industry has given to us. In my specific case, my family is in this industry since 1821, officially, 1819 they start, and officially registered in 1821. My son is the generation number 8. Robert, you are in this industry since long time. And I have said to Robert, I take this example that in pearls he is one of the very few branded pearl company. He didn't pay me to say that, but I mean, the respect I have for Robert, and I have seen in his own home a number of times, and then I will talk about the Asian pearls later. I've seen the great attention that he put, and the soul and the spirit that he put in making what he produced. So this is the thing, you know. Sometimes we believe that the organization are not useful. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not. People has to understand that using properly the tools that we have is important. You know, if I take the example of the iPhone, my son is so good to make even coffee and shadow with the iPhone. I don't know how to do it, but at least I can make telephone calls and receive it. But if you use the telephone, the iPhone, or whatever instrument in the proper way, you can make incredible things. So we have this possibility to use our organization in the various segments of the industry. Let's use it. Let's go ahead with stakeholder community sustainability, or what also has been referred to as social sustainability, connects to a great deal of work that Cibjo has been involved since we obtained special consultative status with the United Nations Economic and Social Council in 2006, and where we committed the international jewelry sector to helping fulfill the UN Millennium Development Goals, which were declared in the year 2000, and more recently, the UN's post-2015 development agenda, which is called 2015 Sustainable Goals. We are committed, what we committed to in 2006 was the principle that while jewelry is a non-essential luxury item, in certain parts of the world, the jewelry industry is an essential business sector, providing a livelihood and looking after the well-being of literally millions of ordinary people. Our obligation is to ensure that our activities provide them with sustainable economic opportunities, which will help secure the future of generations to come. In the gemstone and mineral sector, stakeholder sustainability means investing in the communities so that its natural resources will continue to pay dividends long after the resources themselves are depleted. Community investment in pearl sector is also encouraged. But as I said earlier, pearl farming differs from gemstone and mineral mining in that it is a sustainable and renewable activity that members of pearl grassroots communities can be accepted to remain actively involved in the industry for generations to come. It therefore is important that these communities be provided with fair and equitable opportunities to benefit from the pearl farming enterprise so that they will incentivize to invest and reinvest in their future and that of the entire pearl industry. To illustrate several of the points that I have raised, I suggest that we look French Polynesia and the Tahitian pearl industry. Now, there are a number of Tahitian pearl experts here today, starting from Robert, and I do not propose to impose upon their expertise, but from a perspective of the sustainability issues that I have raised, French Polynesia is a useful case study. It is a country where pearls constitute a major portion of national exports. And for a good number of the country's citizens living in Tahiti and on numerous islands and atolls, they provide the means of living and a way of sustaining entire families and communities. While the larger, more corporate participant, the Tahitian culture pearl sector remains solid, the same cannot be said about the many families' own operation. And their situation has impacted the pearl growers in French Polynesia as anchor of the national economy. For almost 20 years, the Tahitian culture pearl industry seen as a whole has been downward trajectory, with the average value of the Tahitian culture pearl losing almost 80% of its value between 1995 and 2012. These figures came out from the Ministry of Marine Resources in French Polynesia. Robert, you remember when we did this research a couple of years ago. While the larger, more corporate participants in Tahitian culture pearl sector remain solid, the same cannot be said about the many families' own operation. Oh, as I said, sorry. I'm sorry. place in. Okay, I can do that in 5 minutes. I am trying to finish. Maybe 6. The inherent problem of the Tahitian culture pearl sector has been systematic. It exists in a business model in which, in the bulk of the family-owned farms operating at the grassroots of the industry, receive only a very small share of the added value of the pearls that they themselves produce. As a consequence, most of the pearl farmers are chronically underfinanced, meaning that they lack the ability to invest the time and money necessary to achieve the full potential of their marine concessions. Successful pearl farming, as many of you know better than I do, is the result of careful and responsible maintenance of both oysters and the aquatic environment in which they are kept, as well as time provided to allow the nature to develop. But many of French Polynesia families-owned farms felt they could do neither with profit margins so low. They tried to compensate with increased production, and the result was a lower quality product and still lower price. Pearl farms closed and thousands of workers lost their jobs. A lack of economic sustainability threatened both environment and sustainability and stakeholder of community sustainability. Sustainability and corporate social responsibility is one of Cibjo core activities. In July 2007, Cibjo Presidential Council met with UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon to discuss Cibjo development mission and to further the liaison between the international body and the world jewelry industry. So was established the World Jewellery Confederation Education Foundation, or WJSF. Over the years, WJSF has run a variety of projects in different parts of the world, making up a team of UN-endorsed experts with Cibjo and under the auspices of the United Nations Institute of Training and Research, so well-known UNITA. It was instrumental in setting up a Center of Excellence in CSR Education for Jewelry Industry in Belgium 2011. I would like to underline that last year, and is going to celebrate 1 year time, we had a memorandum of understanding that we signed with the Responsible Jewelry Council. Fiona is here, and we are going to celebrate in a few weeks in September in London. Cibjo is also involved in ensuring the integrity of the supply chain and cooperates with a variety of bodies in this respect, including RJC, through an Australian-based foundation with which we have been working for several years called Branded Trust. We are about to launch an online system to enable companies to educate their employees about proper supply chain due diligence, and then to introduce and implement them, as well as achieve accreditation and certification. The harmonization of industry standards has been a critical element of Cibjo mission and has stood at the heart of its effort to protect the confidence of consumers in the jewelry product itself. To advance the goal of universal standard and terminology in the jewelry industry, Cibjo developed its Blue Book system, which involved definite set of standards for grading, methodology of nomenclature of pearls and other organic materials, diamonds, color gemstones, precious metal, and gemological laboratories. Cibjo has been actively involved in the development of a recognized set of terminology by the International Standard Organization, ISO, but this is a long and difficult process. In the absence of clear ISO-approved terminology, it is the Cibjo Blue Book that are most commonly referred to the official forum, including the Court of Justice in many cases. We operate transparently, with full disclosure, part of parcels of our obligation to the jewelry consumer, we have to inform them exactly what we are selling, treat that synthetic gems, for example, are not inherently immoral, nor are they illegal, as long as the consumer understands exactly what they are. But in order to be transparent, in other words, to be able to disclose clearly, one needs to be able to describe the product in a language that is understood throughout the trade. It is for this reason that we are encouraging the development of unified pearl grading system through our Pearl Commission, whose chair is Ken Scarlett from GIA in Bangkok. We realize that it is not an easy task, and that a variety of opinion exists. It will take time. But we are patient and believe that such system will enhance transparency and, as a consequence, consumer confidence. Ladies and gentlemen, I go to the conclusion. I think that I have filled my 5 minutes, but I would like to leave you with one sentence. We all are here to serve properly, professionally, transparently, honestly our consumers. And our consumers are the ones who deserve to do that, to get that, and we have to do all our efforts to guarantee them that we do the right thing, simply because the right thing has to be done. Thank you very much.